Party leader. How are you, sir? Habari yako? Salama. Congratulations. Waziri, pongezi. Thank you. How are you? Hi, Raymond. Very good.
Thank you, all the founder members who are here. It is a celebration. Niombe makofi tafadhali tunapokaribisha wageni wetu wakiongozwa na mmoja wetu aliyekuwa mwanzilishi.
Let's bow our heads and pray.
ODM was born out of the no campaign of 2005. When we went to say no, to reject what we call the Khilifin draft, Wako draft. I saw Wako here. Wabi Wako? Yeah, Yukule, yeah, Wako, Amos Wako. We rejected your draft. We went to the IEBC to choose a symbol. And when we got there, I was there, when we got there, we too had two, on one hand a banana and an orange on the other. And I remember very well, very clearly, him giving us a banana. He gave us on this hand, but then took it back and gave us the orange. So we grabbed the orange. I always wondered what would have happened if we had taken the banana. Anyway, we were lucky. We got the banana, we got the orange, and the banana ended up with the other side, and they became bananas. And then, fast forward, after the campaign, we campaigned so hard as a team. Now we in Kanu, together with the president and Honorable Musalia, and quite a number, with the LDP group. At that time, we in Kanu, we had lost 2002 elections. And actually, the government that came in persecuted us, particularly people from Rift Valley. They were sacked, those in the military, those in the police force, those in parastatals. They were sacked left, right, center, until, I think the president remembers this, we said, please, enough is enough. Don't continue, persecuting us. And we tried to create a dialogue to stop the persecution, because we had lost quite a number of people. Imagine, there was 20 senior police officers who were one day told, out, get out. And they were sitting in their cars doing nothing, waiting to be. So when I hear sometimes stories about blah, 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 I wonder, do they really remember? Anyway, so we teamed up with LDP. So immediately after the referendum, they were sacked. The LDP group who had joined the part of NAC, they were sacked. So we were happy. Now we could work together. They have been sacked, we have been victimized, so we teamed up. Fast forward, we went round after winning the no, and we said, this can be a party, the Orange Democratic Movement. And Your Excellency, you'll remember in Kisumu, that big, huge rally where they were singing, Ruto, Ruto, Ruto. Because you had done a very good campaign, so they thought we won the election, we won the no, because you did a wonderful campaign. So we said, we can go and form a party. So we agreed to go and meet in Machakos, this place called Kwashambungo. I don't know that I pronounced that correctly, but we went there and agreed in principle that let's form a party. Now, Your Excellency, His Excellency the President had shown presidential ambitions. Raila was there, Mudavadi was there, Achib Alala was there, Hormonyaga was there. They had said they want to be president. And you can see, in ambition, you must be ambitious. Kuwa presidency rahisi. So they went into a room themselves to discuss who will be. I think they must have been discussing, he might tell us, they must have been discussing who would be chairman. But then they agreed that none of them who has presidential ambitions should be chair. So they said, who should be given the chair, interim chairman? So Julius Kemboy, who was one of the lawyers who was inside, and Otieno Kachwang was also in the meeting. Julius was the first one to come and said, would you like to be chairman? I said, of course, yes, I don't mind being chairman. And then Otieno Kachwang followed. Otieno Kachwang came to try and convince me to be chairman. I was already convinced. So we agreed. They came. The rest of the positions, I think, you came later. After that, Shambungo as acting secretary. Then we went to Naivasha to strategize now on what the party principles and values are. And we had a very big argument on who who should be members. Individual members, and of course Uhuru and Kanu and Gideon were still in Kanu. We were also in Kanu. And they said, let's have also corporate members. And for a whole 2 days, we talked about who should be member, corporate or individuals only. Raila was for individuals. We talked over, we agreed, let's have both individual members and corporate. So we went out of our way to accommodate Kanu. So we came in, and then we now came to Nairobi to register the ODM. And we found out that a mischievous character called Imanyara, with maybe, I can't call it, maybe a sinister motive, had registered our party. How come? Who is this Imanyara? We haven't even known him. I think I've met the character twice. Is he here? Wapi? He's around, eh? One day he will tell us his motive. So we decided, no, let's register ODM Kenya. So we went ahead and registered ODM Kenya. It was not easy. The government refused to register. But through connections here and there, Janet, the first executive officer, knew some people in the Register of Societies, and we managed to register ODM Kenya. But because we could not be officials, because if we had become officials, we would have had to resign from our seats as members of parliament. So we took, but a little bit, they even refused to give us a certificate of registration. So we went and I climbed up Sharia House, there's a wall, it's not a wall, it's a barrier. And we got the certificate anyway. And I was trying to carry to show the people. And the young people from Kibera, you know how they are. They wanted to grab the certificate. and I was holding it in my hands, and they eventually broke the glass, and it cut my hand here. I have a mark. And then we went with it to Uhuru Park, trying to have a small rally. And the police came and tear gassed us. First time nilikula tear gas. Kwa hivyo, kama hujakula tear gas, hujapata chochote. Anyway, so we registered the party under Manso and I don't know who else, maybe the president knows, I don't know all of them. You know, age is catching up on me. But we got so we went to Pan-African Hotel. At that time, there was still push and we were still pulling. Uhuru was still pulling with I don't know what he wanted, and we had given corporate members. So I called him, I said, Uhuru, go back to your people. Don't come and harass us here. Go back to Kano and build your base there. We will remain here. And then Kalonzo also, and Mutula Senior, still continued wanting, kumbe they knew. The next thing, they ran away with the party. That Dan Manso. Huh? So we were partyless. We were ODM, but without any party. They had run away with the party. So now we thought of, what shall we do? What shall we do? Imanyara has registered the other one. Here is ODMK is gone. So we thought, well, let's register for ODM Asili or ODM Original. So we were still debating. But the party leader, Honorable Raila, and may his soul rest in peace, you know, he was a good thinker. So one day, when we were still talking, there was a restaurant somewhere we used to go sometimes on Lanana Road. He said, you know, Kumbe he had actually decided to approach Imanyara and, well, asked what you want. The rest you can conclude. So Raila told us, we have the party. We have the ODM now. So, hallelujah. Now we are back to, we have not formed the ODM Original or ODM that. So we continued now as a party towards the election of 2007. And I can tell you, it was a hot election. And I can tell you, we fought on principles. We came up with that Maisha Bora. What was it again? Chungwa Moja, Maisha Bora. We came up with that one. You know, Kenya is a country of, you know, various, you might call them, tell me, for the sake of a better word, ethnic communities. And we want a united country. We want a united nation. We want a prosperous country. And we can only do that if we remain united. I know, Anyang, you don't like me to say this, but now the future is the future. You know, Baba left you in the broad-based government. Stay in broad-based government. You know, in 2013, they formed something called CORD. 2017, they formed, what was it? NASA. That Musalia was NASA. And then 2022, we formed what? Asimio. So, the 2027, and I said, I'm going to offer you advice from an old man like me. 2027, broad-based. Broad-based. You can baptize it, but broad-based. Under His Excellency, William Samuel Ruto. Because I have given that history, and we have seen we have been together anyway. In spirit and in everything. Maybe in different parties, but we have been together. Let us stay together as one nation.
ODM at 20 is not just the story of a party. It is the story of a people who refuse to surrender their destiny. Distinguished Wanachungwa, as the pioneer Secretary General of this great movement, I stand before you with pride to reflect on our journey. The Orange Democratic Movement was formally registered in 2005. emerging from the no campaign during the constitutional referendum of that year. And I remember the prime movers of the ODM disappeared somewhere in Ukambani, and the president was one of them. I don't know whether that place was called Kwambungo or something like that. Yeah? Busiongumbo. That is where we disappeared to conspire how to bring this political party to birth in a nation that was suppressed by presidential authoritarianism. The Orange Democratic Movement, having been registered with the orange as the symbol, the voice of those who opposed the proposed draft constitution came together, opposing the so-called Kilifi draft constitution and embracing the Bomas of Kenya draft. In history, you need to learn what those two drafts of the constitution stood for. The Bomas of Kenya are people's proposal for a new constitution. The Kilifi draft are defense for the past and a privilege for the few. We viewed that a draft as a legal camouflage designed to sustain the old reactionary order, not the progressive democratic Kenya that we ODM envisioned. ODM was formed by leaders and citizens who could no longer tolerate injustice, disorder, and reckless leadership. We sought genuine change, not a repackaged continuation of bad governance. Among the key founding figures who stood with the people were Raila Odinga, Makofi Basi, our party leader and the enduring face of the movement, whose untimely passing remains a great loss to our people. Uhuru Kenyatta, who initially allied with ODM during the referendum before charting his own political path and later becoming Kenya's fourth president. William Ruto, a central figure in the 2005 no campaign, one of the ODM's strongest mobilizers in the Rift Valley, and now the President of the Republic of Kenya. Kalonzo Musyoka, who also opposed the Kilifi draft constitution, but later formed ODM Kenya, now the Wiper Democratic Movement. Musalia Mudavadi, who stood alongside Raila as his running mate in 2007, and now serves as Kenya's Prime Cabinet Secretary. Najib Balala, a proud member of the ODM Pentagon, representing the Coast Region. Wapi Najib? He's out of the country. I will stand in for him. After the referendum victory, internal disagreements led to a split. ODM Raila's faction and ODM Kenya Kalonzo's faction. Raila's ODM went on to contest the 2007 general election, nearly capturing power in one of Kenya's most disputed elections, and establishing that the vision of the ODM that it led was really the true story that Kenyans wanted to hear about. At its formation in 2005, ODM crafted a clear and bold vision, rooted in the spirit of reform and the will of the people. Defending the people's sovereignty became an important item on our agenda, ensuring that the will of Kenyans, as expressed in the referendum, would guide constitutional, political, and economic reforms. Advancing constitutional change became our permanent mission, replacing centralized governance with a people-driven constitution, promoting devolution, inclusivity, and checks and balances on presidential power.
Tonight is in many ways bittersweet. Baba looked forward to seeing the ODM family gather to celebrate 20 years of an idea he believed in with every fiber of his being. He is not here, but I stand here strengthened by the love you have shown him and the love you continue to show us. Some may wonder why I'm here, even as we continue to observe the 40 days of mourning. The truth is, Baba would have never had allowed me to stay away. He would have called me in his familiar tone, "Kembo, where are you?" And so tonight, I am here because he raised us to stand up, to show up, and to keep moving forward no matter the season. Thanks. I cannot speak about ODM without speaking about the struggle that gave birth to it. I was literally born into this struggle as a child of the fight for democracy, raised in a home shaped by sacrifice.
Broad-based is not known in the region I come from. And when you do other things, remember, we are there. We have Akamau, we have Mwangi, Maina, we have so many of them. We are a part of the ODM that is in broad-based government. I thank you very much. Thank you again and for giving me this opportunity. Many people have left from my region. I think at the top there, I am one of them that are left, and we are not going anywhere. Dr. Senator Odinga, we are orphans with our chair of orphans, Honorable Junet. Remember, you have orphans, Kwamrima. Remember, you have orphans everywhere. And the legacy that you can hold dear for Baba is to make sure that you have all people from all the regions here in ODM. That was Baba's wish.
I want to plead with you. Raila Odinga has brought this movement very far. This movement, this is not a political party, Your Excellency. This is a movement. And a movement moves. Meaning it came from somewhere, it has reached somewhere. Let us not behave and act like we are starting all over again. We must start from where Raila has left us going forward. Let us not start all over again. We must appreciate that Raila has left us with a Constitution 2010. That is something he really fought so hard for. Raila has made tremendous progress with us. I want to just conclude by saying that this party is built on the principles of agitation. That we went to the street, people lost their lives, people have been maimed. But by the end of the day, there was also boardroom politics that Baba promoted. Baba believed in dialogue. And boardroom politics, even though as we were fighting for independence, we were in the streets and fighting people, Mau Mau and the rest, Yanka Virondo and the rest. But for us to get independence, people went to Lancaster, sat on a table, agreed. For us to get the constitution we have today, after agitation and fighting in the streets, people went to Bomas of Kenya. People went to Kilifi. People went to Naivasha. People spoke. We went to Kenya School of Government, what used to be called KIA, and discussed. Why can't we continue the same today? Even though you want us to go to the street, but we should remember that there is also value in boardroom. 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 Thank you very much. As the chairman of the party, you are in charge of discipline of the party. And it is the most difficult thing, especially if you are chairing ODM. Because almost 50% of the membership of ODM, discipline is part of their life. Indiscipline is part of our lives. And that is how this party has been built. Because again, if you bring too much order in ODM, we can't move. But then, there is one thing that I want to appeal to the membership of ODM on. We could disagree, we could have positions, we could grumble, but the moment the party leader spoke, that became the rule. And I want you to continue in that trajectory. Let us disagree, let us talk. But the moment Dr. Buru Odinga speaks, if he will still be our party leader, which I pray that he continues as the party leader, let us listen to him.
The highlights have been done by our founders who have described the journey that ODM has walked to get to 20 years and before then. And the lesson I've learned is that the journey was not an easy journey. It was a tough journey. But for a long time, the members held together. And in this time of transition, I think the biggest lesson I pick is that we must hold together, because everyone has a role to play if we are going to move the party to the next 20 years. The other lesson I've seen is it was not devoid of a disagreement. I think people did not necessarily have the same view of matters all the time. But despite that, people sat on a table. I was listening. We went to that place in Ukambani. We went to Naivasha. We argued for 2 days over a single issue. And I think we must embrace that conversation, that hard discussion, so that we come out with a single place where we all belong and we move forward together. Finally, ODM has been foundationed on partnerships. We have partnered in 2007, we went into the election. In 2013, we built partnerships under CODE. In 2017, we built partnerships under NASA. In 2022, we built partnerships under Azimio. And as we move into the future, we must continue to build partnerships with people who are like-minded so that we can move together, because we will never or cannot really walk alone.
Raila, those people who knew Raila, who were close to Raila, Raila never liked violence. People thought Raila was a violent person, but he didn't like it. It's only people who were around him were violent. Raila didn't like controversies. And that's why when there was controversies in the party, he would make sure that those controversies are no more. They are sorted out as quick as possible. I want us to remain together so that we remain as a big party. Asanteni sana.
I just want to remind all of us, na wakumbushe. Unajua Waswahili wasema wewe kumbusha mtu abebe, akitaka yakubali ama yakatae. Our late founding father, the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, did not only work with President William Ruto. Number one, he started working with President Moi. He worked with President Kibaki. He worked with President Uhuru Kenyatta. And he worked with President William Ruto. Kumbukeni hiyo.
It is for a fact. It is for a fact. It is not any insinuation that Baba left us in the broad-based government. And we will be there and we will make sure that the broad-based government works for the people of Kenya. We will hold it accountable as a government in parliament, and we will make sure that it delivers to the Kenyan people. And if this government performs and does its work, as Hassan Joe has said, governments in this country are formed through coalitions. If we form a coalition together, if we form a coalition together based on the 10-point agenda that if it's implemented, and then the government of the broad-based delivers for Kenyans, ODM was not formed as an NGO. ODM was formed to gain political power. It's not an NGO. It is a political party that was formed by Baba Raila Amolo Odinga so that we can get political power. And political power can be gotten in many ways other than extrajudicial means. Any other way, you can come through the window, through the door, through the roof, through anywhere. We want to be in power. We don't want to be in the street anymore, Mr. Speaker. No, Mr. President. Mr. President.
If there's one thing that I sometimes always remember, is that in the journey to a new constitution, in Naivasha, in the middle of a very heated conversation, the PNU side was insisting on a presidential system. ODM was insisting on a parliamentary system. But one thing that came into play was devolution. And when the question was put that PNU is saying that if we don't support a presidential system, that was the breaking point. And for ODM, the breaking point was devolution. And I remember in one of the very heated consultations, the late Honorable Raila Odinga came back and said, because we want a new constitution, I will cede ground on the parliamentary quest, but I will not cede ground on devolution. And indeed, that is how devolution came into being. So at one point, it was a debate, and it was a question of what was critical. The new constitution, give and take, we settled for devolution. The third thing that maybe I should highlight, it's being said here maybe lightly, but ODM under Raila has midwifed stability and transitional and smooth transition in this country.
Raila Odinga believed in Kenya. He believed in this nation called Kenya. And he made huge sacrifices for the sake of this country called Kenya. I say so, and I have two accounts. I remember when things fell apart in 2007, as Henry here said. And we had very intense negotiations. And we were very cross with the people on the other side. And we were very difficult people that time. But Raila persuaded us. In fact, when we became very difficult, he went, he negotiated, agreed, and came and faced us with a fait accompli. He told us, I am the leader of this movement. This is what I have decided for the sake of the country. That is what made Kenya move forward. I have seen him do the same. Even when we had a crisis in this country a year ago, he did the same. That is the brand of a man who believes in his nation. And he makes sacrifices to that effect. It is important for us, and it is the reason, by the way, why when we sat down to craft ODM and what we believed in, we wanted to change the politics of Kenya from being politics of personalities or ethnicities to politics of ideology, something we believe in. Yes, and that is the way ODM has carried many communities and many regions along because of ideology. So that is the essence of this celebration. We are celebrating a political party that has identity in ideology. that has risen above personality and ethnicity to an ideological movement. This is what it is. So I want to say to the ODM family, congratulations on 20 years of ODM as a party. Raila Odinga was not a tribalist. Yes. He believed in Kenya. You know, he always extended, you know, his wings to cover as many people as possible. You've heard the story of Mumbi Ngaru here, and many other people. And so that is the person, the man, Raila Odinga. And so as we celebrate 20 years of ODM, we celebrate the life of the party leader of ODM. And we want to say to Raila Odinga, you have left a rich, solid, and strong legacy behind you. And the people who now have the reins of management of this party, please, I urge you not to undermine the spirit of ODM, not to allow this party to go into arguments or to fragment this party. This party must stay strong, if not for anything else, for the sake of the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga and his legacy. This party must stay strong. I say so being a party leader of a different party today. But I am a very strong believer that parties are the foundation of any democracy. If we do not have strong parties, we cannot have a strong democratic state. And therefore, it is important, and that is why I have come here to celebrate ODM as a strong party, not a briefcase party, not a regional party, a national party. And it is in that nation identity, being a strong Kenyan party that has roots everywhere. That is where we should go. That is where the nation should be going. Having strong national parties. Celebrating ODM as a strong national party encourages others, like UDA and others, to also be strong national parties. That is how we are going to have a strong democracy, where parties compete. Today is a great day that we are celebrating 20 years of ODM. It is really unfortunate that Baba is not there to witness ODM at 20. This celebration would have been a carnival. It would have been something else. But as God has decided, Baba is not here with us, but we can do something about the life and time of Raila Amolo Odinga in honor of what he stood for and what he achieved. I'm very proud that today, being president of Kenya, I have my roots in ODM. And nobody can take that away from me. You may not like it, but that is a fact. Sindio? Yes. You cannot write the story of William Ruto and complete it without saying he was a member of, not a member, he was a founder member and a deputy party leader of ODM. Are we together? Acha hiyo story. Sijui kama tunaelewana. Yeah? Mnasema nirudi nyumbani, si niko nyumbani tayari? What is the problem? Sikizeni. You know, if, I mean, I was teasing, you know, after the elections, many of you may not know, as William Ruto, I was very sad. In this election, this past election of 2022, people were having sleepless nights, my team were having sleepless nights, me, I was sleeping, because it didn't matter to me who won the election. Whether I won or Raila Odinga won, we had almost the same plan for this Kenya. And I can say here without fear of any contradiction, Raila Odinga would have implemented housing the way I'm implementing. He would have implemented universal health coverage the way I'm implementing, because we believed in it together. And we started, even this railway thing, this SGR, it was in the original ODM manifesto. And that is why I must move the railway from Naivasha to Kisumu to Malaba. And by the way, I'm going to begin to move it by January. Unajua leo asubuhi nilikuwa Kitui. So, unajua nilikuwa najua nikikuja hii mkutano ya ODM, huyu Simba Arati, unajua Simba Arati amezoea kusema wewe si utoke huko ukuje kwa ODM. Vile nimeona mtu mwingine hapo anajaribu nikasema watu wa UDA watafikiri nimehama, nikasema wacha nivae yellow at least ndio waone bado mimi niko. Lakini nikasema nitachanganya na orange ndio ionekane ni broad based. ama namna gani? Si ndio? Na unajua huko Ukambani niliambiwa rangi ya Ukambani ni yellow. So nikaona hii ni sawa. Acha nianze na Ukambani yellow, alafu nipeleke huko yellow ya UDA, alafu nichanganye na orange ya ODM, ikuwe broad based, alafu to celebrate. I had engagements with Baba, and I say that we've been on the same side of the political divide. We've been on different sides of the political divide. But one thing that Baba always taught all of us is that in politics we compete, but we do not become enemies. We compete, but we do not become enemies. And that is what it is. I want you, as members of ODM, to ask yourselves, how come Baba worked with Moi, and worked with Kibaki, and worked with Uhuru, and worked with William Ruto? You need to ask yourselves. It's because he always could transcend the divide of political competition and reach out for the good of the nation. That is the essence of politics. As we celebrate ODM at 20, I must tell you, the family of ODM, beyond everything else, we must work together towards moving this great country called Kenya, because that is why we came together then. And it was right then as it is right today. We may have come together then as individuals. We may be coming together now as political parties, but the mission is the same: to change this country. The mission is the same, to change this country. And I am very confident that together, in unity, we can lift this country to the next level, working together. Number one, the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is a great Democrat. He believed in structured political engagement. He believed in a political party. In fact, I dare say he believed in ODM more than his supporters believed in him. Let me repeat that. Raila Odinga believed in ODM more than those of you who were his supporters, including me then, believed in him. And that is why the party stands up to today. He would do anything for ODM. He would make any sacrifice for ODM. He would bend over to accommodate people for ODM to succeed. As I stand here, I have no apologies to anybody that today ODM and UDA are running the same government. Why? Because we have the same agenda. We have the same agenda. Tuko na agenda the same. If you read the manifesto of ODM and read the manifesto of UDA, the difference is maybe 20%. So, si tu sukume hii maneno tuende mbele. And by the way, let me tell you, good people, the last meeting I had with Baba, and Anyang Nyong was there, this professor. Anyang Nyong was there, Hino was there, the last formal meeting. We had sat down to craft, me and Baba, to craft how to move Kenya from a third world country to a first world country. And we asked Professor Anyang Nyong, in fact, Baba is the one who had called Professor Hino from the United States to come to Kenya. And we sat down and we said, Kenya has gone through hoops for far too long. You know, we cannot continue like this. All of you seated here, you know Baba's ideas. This man, Simbarati, you came with a team from Kisii. Baba spoke to that meeting. I was there, you were there. And he explained to people, why is South Korea ahead of us? Yes. And he said, we must do certain things. And we have agreed we cannot continue in this third world frame. And I called Anyang Nyong after we finished the ceremonies of Baba, and Anyang Nyong is working on something. I met him the other day. He told me he's putting it together because we agreed that we need to generate 10,000 megawatts of energy, and it is the reason why Opiyo Wandayi has very clear instructions on what to do with nuclear energy. We agreed that we must move the railway all the way. We agreed that we must have a new airport. We agreed that we must do another 10,000 kilometers of tarmac. So there are things we have agreed that must move Kenya from being a third world country to a first world country. And in honor of Baba and what he believed in, he even disagreed with many people on matters to do with the airport and many things, because he could see the opportunity we are losing by not being ambitious with our plan and with our program. Mr. Party Leader, the Honorable Daktari Oburu Odinga, this great party has given you the honor to steer the affairs of this party. We can only wish you well. We can only wish you Godspeed. We can only wish you God's grace that you, where your brother and our friend Raila Amolo Odinga has left this party, I know for sure that you were not only his brother, but you are also his friend and confidant. I say so because on every matter that I discussed with Raila Odinga, if there was to be a second person, it was Oburu Odinga. He would always, I remember even when we were discussing this broad-based arrangement, he said the first person you must call is Oburu Odinga. It's Oburu Odinga who came and told me this is the list of the ministries we are thinking about. And it was a fairly long list, you know, and many other things. So the same confidence I think your brother had, and the same friendship that you carried through with your brother, it is my hope and wish that you will not let him down, that you will stand up for what he stood for, that you will match up to his vision and work for this party the same way your brother and leader worked for this party. So otherwise, nimeshukuru sana, my good friends. I just want to assure you of my goodwill, my support in every way, that you will need any support from this administration. There are members of ODM in senior positions in this administration. You will not lack the network to be able to access government. And I'm very proud, by the way, of the contribution of the ODM members in this broad-based administration. Everything I am talking to you about, my Minister for Finance here knows. He knows where we need to move the country. And he knows it is part of the ODM plan and manifesto. Many of the earlier speakers have told us in extensively. Mumbingaru, Henry Koskei, Professor Peter Anyang-Nyong, our first Secretary General of ODM, and all the other founder members, including Hassan Joho, so that he stops complaining. Now, let me be honest, Hassan Joho was there. I must give him that. He was there at Imperial Hotel. In fact, I remember very well when we went to this rally and the place was full. And I didn't know that it was Oburu who incited Balala, because we had said we wanted to consolidate this thing into a political party, because it was a very strong movement. And you know, the rest of us were members of other parties that time. I was then the Secretary General of Kano. And so we thought maybe we need to reorganize something, but Balala did alifanya ile kitu. So then the rest is history.